What would you do if everything you cherished was handed over to someone who didn't understand its worth? For Michael, this wasn't a hypothetical. It was a wound, raw and aching, that opened the moment he stepped into his old home. He'd been gone for years, chasing a career across continents, trusting his sister, Clara, to safeguard the treasures of his past. But when he returned, he found his world in ruins, and the culprit was an unexpected one: his own nephew, Ethan. Michael's home was more than a house. It was a museum of memories. The oak bookshelf, carved by his grandfather, held first-edition novels he'd collected since college. The vinyl records, each sleeve worn from love, carried the jazz that had soothed him through heartbreak. The hand-painted ceramic vase, a gift from his late wife, stood as a quiet sentinel of their shared dreams. These weren't just objects, they were anchors to a life he'd built, piece by piece. Clara had promised to keep them safe while he was away. She swore they'd be untouched, waiting for his return. But promises, Michael learned, could be as fragile as the things they protect. He arrived on a crisp autumn morning, the air sharp with the scent of fallen leaves. The house felt different, colder, as if it knew what awaited him. Clara greeted him at the door, her smile tight, her eyes darting. "Michael, I didn't expect you so soon," she stammered. His heart sank. Something was wrong. He pushed past her, his footsteps echoing in the hollow space. The living room was a battlefield. The bookshelf leaned precariously, its shelves empty, books strewn across the floor, pages torn like confetti. The vase lay in shards, its delicate patterns reduced to dust. His records, those sacred vinyls, were scratched beyond repair, some snapped in half. Michael's knees buckled. "What happened here?" he whispered, voice trembling with disbelief. Clara's explanation came in fragments, each word a dagger. She'd been struggling financially, unable to maintain the house. So, she'd moved in with her teenage son, Ethan, and given him free rein. "He's just a kid," she said, as if that excused the devastation. Ethan, 16 and reckless, had turned Michael's sanctuary into a playground. He'd invited friends over, thrown parties, treated the house like a disposable toy. In one single, careless day, had destroyed what Michael had spent a lifetime building. The betrayal stung worse than the loss. Clara hadn't just failed to protect his belongings. She'd handed them to someone who saw no value in them. Michael's grief gave way to anger, then to something colder, resolve. He spent hours cataloging the damage, each broken item a tally of disregard. The bookshelf, $2,000 to repair. The books, irreplaceable, but valued at $1,500. The vase, a custom piece, $800. The records, $600. The total climbed to $4,900, a number that felt both enormous and inadequate. These weren't just things, they were pieces of his soul. But Michael wasn't one to wallow. He'd learned long ago that loss doesn't heal without action. He sat down, pen in hand, and wrote a bill. Not to Clara, she was family, and he couldn't bring himself to burden her further. The bill was for Ethan. He found his nephew sprawled on the couch, earbuds in, oblivious to the chaos he'd caused. Michael didn't shout. He didn't need to. His voice, low and steady, carried the weight of his pain. "Ethan," he said, "you broke something that wasn't yours. Now you're going to make it right." He handed the boy the bill, itemized and precise. Ethan's eyes widened, his bravado crumbling. "I can't pay this," he mumbled. Michael leaned closer. "Then you'll work for it. You'll learn what it means to value something." The next weeks were a lesson in accountability. Michael didn't want Ethan's money, not really. He wanted understanding. He made Ethan research the cost of each item, visit antique shops to see the craftsmanship of similar pieces, and write an essay on why people cherish objects tied to memory. Ethan grumbled at first, but Michael saw the shift. The boy's careless smirk faded, replaced by a quiet awareness. He began to ask questions about the vase, the books, the music. For the first time, Ethan saw the man his uncle was not just a distant figure, but someone who'd loved deeply, lost profoundly, and built a life worth preserving. Clara watched, guilt etching lines into her face. She offered to pay, but Michael refused. "This isn't about money," he told her. "It's about him learning what you didn't teach." By the end, Ethan had saved enough from odd jobs to cover half the bill. Michael took the money, not because he needed it, but because it meant Ethan had earned it. The other half, Michael forgave it, not out of weakness, but because he saw something in Ethan's eyes, regret, and the seeds of respect. The house was never the same. Some things couldn't be fixed. But Michael found peace in the act of teaching. He'd lost objects, but he'd gained something else: a nephew who might one day understand the weight of carelessness. And in that, there was hope. Sometimes, the cost of destruction isn't just a dollar amount. It's the labor of rebuilding, not just things, but trust, understanding, and the fragile bonds of family.